So just in case if people may not understand what this show is about, Manhood Mindset is where actually all people involved come together and we discuss manhood and what it means to our community. So it's not just only for men, it's for men, women, and especially children. We're trying to build a community, and we're trying to do our part in making sure that we contribute as much as we can to our situations, all right? So like we said before, this show has been going on for quite a while now. We've had a lot of positive feedback for the show, and right now we have a lot of our shows recordings, and a lot of people are playing them at their schools, man. So that's one of the biggest things. So without further ado, because people really don't like hearing me talk, so what I'm going to do is make sure that we get into what our guests are. Well, hold on. Well, I'm on live. I'll be out there in a minute. Tell him I'll be out there in a minute. All right. So basically what I'm going to do is let him in while you're introducing yourself. So, sir, tell the people who you are, where you're from, and why you're here.
Well, my name's Yusuf Presberry. I don't have that entrance like Chris. I'm not from Atlanta. I'm from Augusta, Georgia, by way of everywhere. My father was in the military, so I was a military brat. But me and Chris just went to school together at Georgia Southern. So I've known this good brother for about 14 years now. But like I said, I came on the show just to really talk about a story about, being persistent, not giving up, following through, and just making sure if you're dedicated to going to school, college, whatever it is, stick to it. I've taken the long road, as we can say, and I mean the long road. So sure. I can admit to that. For sure. So we got another player partner that's regular on Manhood Mindset, man. Go ahead and introduce yourself, homie.
True Mill, man. Like he just said, taking a long road. I took a long road to get here today.
For sure.
That's why I'm late. So I apologize for that behalf. Like I said, True Mill, all social sites. I'm a rapper. I'm a producer. And slightly a ear for talent. You know what I mean? So, yeah. For sure, man. So, let's go ahead and get right to the point, all right? So, we got Yusuf in the house. Yusuf is a GSU alumni as well, okay. True. We went to school together, and we've had some of the most funniest conversations joining people outside of the club where we weren't supposed to be at. But we used to talk about other people who weren't supposed to be there either, right? We used to literally do play-by-play like ESPN replays, bro. And we used to call them and be like, look, right here, they're going to double team. Foul, look at that. Look, they failed. You know what I mean? But some of the things that we saw, man, kind of shaped us, shaped our mindsets of what we did not want to do. Yeah. And Yusuf and I, we used to sit back, and we were older people here. You know what I'm saying? And some of the people we went to school with, we would
Nah, we ain't gonna say they OGs or whatever, but they used to ask us for our perceptions on things and our point of view, just to help, clear up some confusion or whatever we saw that they needed. You know what I mean? So some of the things were extremely hilarious, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. We had a lot of club talks, and then we had a lot of Waffle House conferences out. Yeah, man, we were all stars, man. So we should eat like those. So you know what I mean? So, all right, Yusuf, let's go ahead and get started right into that. And if you're on Facebook Live, go to Facebook Live right now under Christopher Pugh. And if you have a question directly for Mr. Presberry, you can type your question to him, and we're going to read it live, give you a shout out and all of that good stuff. And please, when you ask your questions, ask them in the manner that you're trying to help out someone young who needs to figure out what you're asking. All right? We just asked you to do that. So, Yusuf, what is manhood?
Manhood can consist of a lot of things, but I think it depends on where you're at in your position of manhood.
All right.
Depends on the decisions you make.
Okay.
Are you trying to move forward? Are you trying to be progressive in what you're doing in life? Me right now, the phase I'm in, I'm married. I've been married going on 9 years.
Enjoy.
My beautiful wife's outside with my kids. I brought my kids with me.
You sure did. See, this is a family mindset too. We were finna name it that.
So, I mean, when you look at it from my perspective right now, it's taking care of my family and raising my kids in a way where they have something to look up to.
That's tight.
And that's the manhood mindset. When I could say when I was in my 20s, I can tell you this, that when I graduated high school, my mother gave me an ultimatum, and it was pretty much you either get a full-time job, go to school, or join the military. Well, I wasn't trying to do the military. So
shoot your shot.
I went to school and I played around, but the funny thing is I still ended up going in the military. I still ended up in the Army Reserves, and to make that decision, and I'm not saying that's for everybody, but it's just trying to make positive decisions. And there's nothing wrong, because if you do mess up, there's always a way to fix it. You know what I'm saying? You can bounce back from that. So,
yeah, somebody just called me Medium Chris, man. They had to go to Cedar Grove. Yep, that's Terrell. All right, go ahead, bro. My bad.
So, I mean, and it's just really the phases in your life. You know, what are you trying to do with yourself? You know what I'm saying? So right now, like I said, where I'm at, I've always been into mentoring. I've always been around the youth to try and mentor them. So I'm at this point now where, I mean, me and my boy, my good friend Easy, Matthew Core,
Sleazy E,
we coach a soccer team together, right? You know what I'm saying? And that's something, it's not unheard of, but you got two black fathers coaching a godson and his son. On Wednesdays, I teach a Bible study class. I know that seemed kind of odd for the folks who went to Georgia Southern, who, you know, that's how I used to be.
No, man, kicking it with the Lord.
You know, but it's just for the youth. I just did something this summer when we went out of town.
For sure.
I had to teach a class of about 20 youth, and you talked about culture versus God. So I mean, those are manhood mindsets for me. You know,
culture culture versus God. Can you elaborate on that? Why that title, and then what did y'all talk about?
Well, when you look at what goes on in our culture today, right? You know, that's our new phrase, right? We doing it for the culture, right?
Right.
When you look at like the definition of culture, and don't ask me verbatim, but just pretty much your surroundings, your family, what you listen to, what goes on versus that. So I pretty much was telling them that, you know, your culture can influence you in two different ways. You know, so how does your culture line up with what the Bible or what God has for us? What is your plan? So it's always going to be a constant conflict between our culture versus God. So one thing I talked about was music, and I'm not knocking, I love music, but sometimes, you know, we used to have these conversations back when we were here.
We used to have heated debates on Project Pat. Let's just tell the people what's up.
Let's just say you just have to look at what you're listening to, you know what I'm saying, and what you're feeding yourself right now, because that's going to impact you.
Right.
You know, and how you justify that. Next thing you know, you're just starting to believe in that. And a lot of it, some of it's true, but some of it's it's fantasy. You know, it's made up. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm cool with that. But it's just you got to know when to determine, you know, can I live my life like this?
Right.
So those are some of the things that we talked about, you know, versus culture versus God. I took their favorite songs and kind of broke them down, because they didn't even know, oh, that's what that mean? I'm like, yeah, that's what he talked about, you know.
Wow.
So, you know, those are the things that, you know, I like to talk about with you. You know what I'm saying? Where you going? I like to challenge them. Like, where's your head at? Are you trying to go to school? And if you are, you know, come talk to me, because I'd have been to school and probably did any and everything to almost get put out of school academically. Don't nothing to be proud of, but I made it.
It's all G, man. So true, man. Based on what you're hearing, you're talking about the discussion between culture and God, whether it's together, whether it's separate. And you an artist, bro, so we already got to talk about that relationship with a higher power, or where you get your source of your energy and your source, your spiritual influence from your artistic expression, man. So based on what you've been hearing so far, man, what's your thoughts, bro?
It's a slippery slope. Very slippery slope.
Gotcha.
And me personally, I'm not very religious.
Okay.
I'm a spiritual person more than anything, but the reason I'm not very religious, just a light overview, I grew up around a lot of religions. My mother being Christian, my grandmother being Jehovah's Witness, my father being Muslim. So you can imagine, the confusion when you're a young boy and everybody's pulling you which way. Like, not purposely, but when I'm with my grandmother, she's telling me one thing and she's saying one thing, so on and so forth. But anyways, when it comes to music nowadays and artist connection or lack thereof with a higher being or whatever, I personally feel like it starts at the crib. Like you said, it's your responsibility to guide your children in the direction that you see fit. Whether they choose to, in the long road, to go down that direction or not is their choice. But in the beginning, it is your responsibility to let me, shepherd you down this path, whatever. Then going outside of that, I personally wouldn't tell anybody to look to an artist for this higher connection, whatever. But if you feel it, like for me personally, I grew up roughly in a lot of spots without my father, so Jay-Z was like a father to me,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Like listening to him, T.I. played like a father role with the things that they were saying in their rhymes. But those are artists for me in the environment that I lived in. They didn't tell you just the good side,
right?
They told you both sides. They let you know the consequences of these actions, blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, it's and it's way more intricate than that. I'm speaking on a surface level, but it's a real slippery slope.
For sure.
And those kind of conversations are important. So at least the dialogue is there. It's being had. You know what I mean? And introduced at a young age. That's super important.
One of the artists that made the concept of God clearer for me, not saying that they introduced it, was Goody Mob's Soul Food album.
Yeah.
And Witch Doctor's SWAT Healing Ritual. They talked about God throughout the entire album, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things as a youngin' coming up, like, I grew up off NWA, you know what I'm saying? I listened to Public Enemy, things of that nature, and it was all culture, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But see, this is the thing, if they God's people, man, that's God represented to me too. So I was just looking at it as the people doing what they're supposed to do, getting the message out. But when Goody Mob and Witch Doctor and Dungeon Family were just talking about God in like on purpose and in an intense way, I saw it in ways that I couldn't see it in church. Not saying that church wasn't showing it to me. Not saying that the conversations with my elders didn't show it to me. But something about that artistic expression, because artwork and music, it can reach the soul in a way that, somebody just talking to you can't. Because we're rhythmic people, man. We go off a lot of different rhythms, man. When you start hearing that drum, you start hearing those beats and start hearing those those strings and chords and things of that nature. That stuff touches your soul.
Yeah.
So whatever lyrics that's tied to those rhythmic beats, man, they're gonna hit harder than somebody just talking to you in the kitchen. Talking to you, you know what I'm saying? Talking to you in the church parking lot, telling you what you ain't gonna, what you young boys need to watch out doing. But no, man, I listened to Cell Therapy by Goody Mob. Like, nobody could really like repeat what they did, because by the time I heard that, I was just like, oh, that's what y'all was talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the culture is too. I think the culture is so big that it's kind of hard for people to understand it or describe it, really. Go ahead, Yusuf.
I think to chime in on that, the one thing that you can differentiate between the conversation with the guy in the parking lot versus the music was its repetition, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? Like, we sat. Now, if you went on Sunday morning and when I came up, and I'm not saying, but when you're younger, you're really not paying attention. But if you in there and you're like, man, he preached today, and then you go home, you trying to remember what he wrote, right?
Right.
But versus if it was some music and if it was something like a Goody Mob, you think about how many times we popped that in,
yeah,
and
right.
it was just repetition, and you broke it down,
right,
and it just made you think, and that's the thing. I'm cool with that. You know what I'm saying? I don't think, like I said, I love our culture. I love our music. I just need some substance. But
no, real talk.
Understand, I was this way way back then.
Yeah, man.
And I can remember, like, if I heard something and I was like, well, Outkast, Good Mom, man, they talking about something.
Straight up.
And then I go listen to something else and I'm like, man,
what is going on here?
What's going on?
Right.
And, you know, as we progressed into our days here, that's how it was. You know, we be outside looking like, what they doing?
Yeah, what's going on here? Like, we would get to the point, we were calculating bail money in our minds, remember? We used to sit out at Legend, we're like, I can smell a couple of grand tonight. You know what I'm saying? Especially if it was the last day of school or homecoming. We used to sit in the, because we are like, Yusuf, where are you going to be? Like, near the exits.
Yeah.
And like, we used to stand out outside, so I was like, especially if it was like pajama jam or something
And
like
it was
that.
bad because I was throwing the party.
Yeah, he threw the party.
I'd be like, I'm going to stand out here.
Exactly. And see, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's where we want to kind of veer off into our conversation.
Cool.
Now, we're talking about people who are mature, but you also understand the need for an outlet, especially for the youth, right?
Okay.
Especially for people like, and you know, you're a person who went to Georgia Southern that could be categorized in the minority, right? Because we're real careful about labels around here. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So say for instance, if you a person who is not categorized as the majority and you were labeled as a minority student, right? You know how important it is to have avenues where you kind of feel included, not only on the campus, but in the city. Because a lot of people may not know, a lot of people have interpreted the vibes different from on campus. As soon as you step off campus in the Statesboro area, the vibe can be a little daunting. Okay, depending, especially if you've never been this south, you know, this south in the state before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, some people who go past that cotton field may be like, let's withdraw. you know what I'm saying? I like seeing it in the movie, don't like it in person.
Why is that flag?
Yeah, you know, you see Confederate flags everywhere, and now all of a sudden, you know, all these different movies and different images that you may have, now you got second thoughts. So one of the things that I really appreciated, a lot of my close friends were in entertainment. And what a lot of people might have misunderstood, might have, not guaranteed, that about how disciplined and how academically focused you had to be in order to provide entertainment for your peers and graduate. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people, when they look at people who are in entertainment groups, a lot of people say, "Oh, you just throw parties." And then until I started understanding the psyche or the thought process behind an entertainment group and an entertainment manager, some of them were just like, "Nah, man, the parties keep getting shut down, right? People don't feel like it's a place here. Where our job is to make sure people feel like they can go somewhere where they're kind of appreciated, at least as much as possible. Try to put them in an environment where it's kind of safe. We try to control the safety as much as possible, but we're trying to make sure that we contribute to our folks, man, because we know we have to give them a product that they are willing to support, because we not only will providing the service, these are our peers. We got the same classes with these people. We study with these people, right? So let me ask you, what was the mindset of not an entertainment group person? What I will say is a human being that chose to provide entertainment to his peers.
I mean,
what was the
basically,
mindset?
I mean, for me personally, I've just always liked to have a good time.
Right.
You know. So
Me too.
I felt that, you know, when you're going through class, right, and you know, a lot of people don't know college is stressful. Whatever your major is,
Straight up.
You got stuff to turn in, papers to turn in. So by the time the weekend hit, you really want to wind down.
Yep.
So the mindset is really just providing a venue for people to come together and just get together and just be on one accord and just really just catch up, you know, and have a good time and just release some energy, release some stress,
right,
and just kind of have a good time. So that's basically what it is, you know. I can remember some things we've done, and this is, you know,
my mama listened to the show, Yusuf.
Okay.
My mama listened to the show.
Eons ago, but I can remember Pretty Nasty, you know, the first one, and how we
were talking about injuries and sports injuries. Those injuries were pretty nasty.
I can remember, you know, that Monday, me and Rick looking at the campus like, we did it. Like, everybody was drained.
Yes.
And so, you know, and not living on old glory days, because I'm not. That was just a while back. But that's what you wanted. You wanted to see people just have a good time, you know. And I've never been one to just look for that and be like, oh, that's, you know, that wasn't me. I was always like, I'm just trying to be in the background and make things happen.
Right. And that's what one of the things I really respect about just the mindset that y'all had. Like, y'all can party without having to party.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all really were on your mind. You were on your business side. So true. When you are involved in a atmosphere where people are trying to have a good time, right? And you also are artists. Have you been in a position where somebody's throwing a party, but you have to perform, but you're also trying to pay attention to everything else that's around you? You picking up on different body language, different, all of that stuff.
We used to throw parties. It's a custom in Atlanta. I don't know if they do it anywhere else, but the main place I heard of it happening was Atlanta. And since Georgia Southern is comprised of mostly Atlanta people,
Atlanta South,
AT aliens.
Yes.
Like the custom came down to Southern, but we used to throw house performances.
Okay.
So where we'll set up the DJ speakers and everything. We'll have an actual DJ, and then we'll set up an area where this is where the artist is performing at. Everybody crowds around, whatever.
Right.
And throughout a couple of those, we had to watch, who was coming through the door. We had some weapon control issues.
Of course.
Other control issues.
Yeah. Substance.
Yeah. So it is kind of hard when you're an artist that has to perform a set, and you gotta make sure everything is in line for who's performing before and after you, and you're also making sure things are going right. Because we also set up at our parties, it wasn't just the drinks are in the kitchen. It was we have a bartender.
Right.
And you're gonna abide by those rules so that we can maintain that for the whole night.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it can be a lot. And then on top of that, I got a paper I got to write tomorrow.
Exactly. So let me ask you this, Yusuf. We talked about this a little bit before we went live. The young men that we encountered while you were here in undergrad, right? And we talked a lot about where we were going as men, right? And we wouldn't. It wasn't like a judgmental thing. We were just like, wow. And we're here with them, so we can't judge them because we're here. But we didn't know as a group that we felt like this in certain situations. And we usually talked about it. We were just like, hey, man, our conversations at these kickbacks, we may need to kick it up a notch on certain things like survival skills or, conflict management or just overall, just straight up communication in business. You know what I'm saying? So, Yusuf, man, kind of take us back to what you saw, the type of manhood that was displayed that you saw here at Georgia Southern during your undergrad years.
In my undergrad years, the type of stuff that was displayed would sometimes be a little bit ignorant.
Yeah, of course.
And I mean, my thing was this was just me. This was my opinion, right? I never felt that there was a such thing as, if you want to use the term, thug in college.
Right.
It just doesn't exist, right? Like, you can look.
People want to see you doing that.
Oh,
they enjoy yourself.
You can look like it, right?
Right.
But you passed the SAT.
Yeah, man.
To get into a university.
Your mom dropped you off at SOAR.
And I don't mean like you went to junior, and if you did go to a junior college, you still transfer and you're here.
Correct.
So you're intelligent, So correct. Whether you were just trying to relive some glory days of high school, that would be the thing I'd look at. Like, come on, y'all. Like, y'all too old. Like, y'all ain't too old for this, but like, you in school,
right?
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got in. Like, I don't know what you had to make on your SAT, but you got in. I mean,
you applied.
And you probably got some good grades, but you walking around trying to be something you're not. Yeah. And a lot of them got out of it eventually. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's if they just passed, they chose, if they decided to go Greek or something like that, that was, that manhood decision when you look at for some of them. Right. Or if they just decided to, hey man, let me get my grades straight. Let me stop doing this. But you could see that now. I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna happen to everybody. Like, you get down here your freshman year, you testing the waters. Right?
Yeah, straight up.
Mom done dropped you off.
Yeah, you trying to see where the barriers at.
Yeah, exactly, and there are none. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to learn to set your own barriers.
And they giving out condoms.
Yeah. So
what? My bad. Sorry. Go ahead.
So when you look at stuff like that, I mean, it was just the stuff we saw. Me and Chris have this expression. We had this look, right? I kid you not. We'd be sitting here and you'd be like, bro, you'd be like, really?
Yes.
Like, did that just really happen? You would call it. But you just like, and then like the next day you see the same person and you're like, come on, bro. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I we'll tell the story one of these days about the chicken
No, we're not. Well, matter of fact, enjoy yourself. Might as well. No. People know it.
You know, and it was just like, you know, one night I think you had crossed.
No, I wasn't. I didn't cross that night. Yeah, so I was at Mike and KP's parade.
You know, I'm not Greek. I was just always around Greeks through affiliation, but these young ladies got to fighting over some cute chicken. I mean, in the parking lot, like. But it was
the secret's out. The secret is out.
What was so funny is they was fighting over the chicken, and then the other girl went up and she started kicking the car, and she got hit.
By a car.
By the car and spit off the hood.
Shout out to Zany Zoo, man, giving back to the community.
And you know, I mean, these are the things you would see and be like,
over some chicken.
Over some chicken. Like, did that just really happen?
They used to stand outside by that grill for about 2 hours and wait till that chicken was done.
So I mean, those are the things that you think about. But like I said, it's a learning experience, right? To me, college is nothing but it's getting you ready, preparation for life. You know what I'm saying? Everything we did, as far as you came down here, like everything you just said, that was a business. You get what I'm saying? Like, look, you're gonna follow this rule right here. We're gonna do this, this, and this. A lot of people like even thought like, we had meetings, we had to sit down, we talked about this, and this, and then like, yo, I gotta get to class, and I'm gonna say everybody with us graduated. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody finished school, so that was still the final goal. You're here for education,
right?
You know. So.
What do you think was what was the level of communication between men and women? How did you see those relationships either fold or unfold in undergrad? Because a lot of people think men are supposed to say certain things to women. You know what I'm saying? And the older we get, man, we realize that, man, we got lied to real hard. You know what I'm saying? So, just say, for instance, we got an undergraduate young man who's listening to us right now, and he thought he was supposed to be like, hey, ma, like, or hey, shouter, hey, come here right quick. You know, he saw his OGs do that, and it worked in Atlanta. It worked in Augusta. It worked in Savannah. It worked in Albany. It worked in Columbus. But now he's on the campus in Statesboro, GA, when everybody's walking Instagram. You know what I'm saying? And so now he's trying to apply what he thought worked to his constituents, I would say, or his peers.
I'm gonna tell you guys this, man. Me being the older person, I used to just laugh at stuff, man. It's really about communication. Okay. Communication means a dialogue between two people, and it's the initial approach, man. You don't ever want to just walk up to anybody and be like, "Yo, what up, though?" You know what I'm saying? Especially a female, she's not gonna respond to that. So. Right. For you younger guys out there, I would tell you just take your time. I don't know, y'all do all this. Y'all talk on the phones these days. Y'all can be
man. Person. If it ain't text, they can't do it.
Texting and Instagram with somebody or Snapchat like, yo, what up? But anyway, just you don't want to be aggressive. That's never gonna get you where. And I don't think it ever has. We're not cavemen anymore. We're not hitting people over the head. So I mean,
at least most of us. We got a few around here like, I'm old school. Like, you like, dude, chill out. That's not school at all. Some of the things that you've seen in your life, and I know you talked about it briefly, about some of your educators might have said certain things to you that kind of steered you in a way or made you start thinking about your possibilities. Can you give us a scenario or some things that you remember about your upbringing that, you might have heard some things that might have steered you one way or another, and how did you handle it?
So one thing I'll tell is this story I told Chris when we first started. When I was in 7th grade, I had a teacher who pretty much, he went and broke the whole class down. He was just telling them what their future was going to be. Mm-hmm. So he's telling, oh, you're going to be a doctor, you'll be this, you'll be
like that first scene of Malcolm X, everybody had it.
So what does he say? He gets to me, right? Now, I just kind of stuck to myself. Yusuf, he's like, you know what? You're not going to college. He's like, you're going to work at a factory. And I'm thinking he's about to just tell me something like, yeah, man, you're going to be an engineer. You're going to be...
oh, you're going to own the factory.
You're going to own something. He was like, you're going to work in a factory. And all through high school, that sat with me. And it wasn't until, I got here, right? Because I took a long road, I took a long road. When I got here, and I started off in education. I was an education major. History education major. So I'm a black dude that like history. So that should already tell you something right there. So I literally would use that. That was my motivation. This dude told me I wasn't going to graduate. He told me I wasn't even going to college. I'm going to work at a factory. I did graduate, and I've never worked at a factory. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, those are the things I think when a teacher doesn't know how discouraging you can be.
Right.
You know, and I think that comes from a social disconnect, you know, and you understand I went to school I was in middle school in the 80s. So, I mean, you got somebody.
Who, the 80s?
Yeah. You got somebody. Sensitivity wasn't taught then. They just kind of said what they wanted to say, you know. So.
That back when people, it was you had to fight your teacher.
Yeah.
Fist fights.
Yeah.
Like, Mr. Brennan, you hit pretty hard, man. I'm 8. Straight up. All right, so now, you said you took the long road, all right? And all of us have specific stories. So, True, I want you to chime in, too. Yusuf, you said, how old were you when you were undergrad?
So, to let everybody know, when I got here, I was 29. So, if this was a different world, I was Sinbad. You know what I'm saying?
Man, me too. Sinbad was my dude.
So, what it was is I started school at 18, and I was from Augusta, so I went to Georgia Military. I was just taking classes.
Right.
And then money issues came up, so I sat out. And when I mean I sat out, I'm just going to work full time. I sat out for 7 years. I joined the Army Reserves. I got put on active duty after 9/11. I spent a year on active duty. I came back. The job I was working Foot Locker. They sent me to Atlanta. Those who know Atlanta, I stayed in Covington and drove to Greenbrier Mall every day.
So you went from Africa to Europe?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I did that for a week and said, man, you know what? I'm going back to school.
Right.
And with my last little money I had saved up from the military, I paid for my school. I finished up at Georgia Military. 2004, I got down here.
Right.
And literally, the one thing about being 29 and coming to a school is I had friends, but for me, I had to learn college, right?
Yeah, man.
Like, and these are things that's not taught to anybody, right? And you got to understand, too, is I didn't take econ in high school, so that was like one of my worst subjects, but I had to learn college. And I think that's where a lot of young people can get discouraged. But, you know, you got to ask questions. You know, there's a saying like closed mouths don't get fed, right? You got to ask questions. So I literally just observed and just figured out any and everything. And that's why I tell y'all, like, if you're in a situation, y'all know Chris, just find somebody and just ask.
Right.
Just go talk to your professors, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I did. And, you know, I had people in my corner. Shout out to Regina Wallace, man. She ain't paying attention.
Regina.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I tell people this is the reason why I graduated, because she was like, Yusuf. She knew I was out of place. She was like, Yusuf, you just stick with me, and
hilarious.
We gonna make this. And so that was like how it was.
Here.
She was like, she was literally like, you know, like, you gonna sit and you take these classes. We're going to take this dude.
Right.
And once I figured it out, it happened. And then I'm going to tell you this story. So because I was in entertainment, and you would think I'd be mature enough, but it's the reason why I come down here when I was 18. I was too wild.
Amen.
So when I came down here, again, I had to learn college. So I had a couple classes I didn't really do that good. And I got put on academic probation. Now, this is the point where a lot of people don't know, and I'm not ashamed to tell the story, is the class I didn't do good in. I asked the professor. I sent him an email. I said, Professor, I was like, is there anything I do with extra credit? He was like, nope, I don't give extra credit. Right. Now, the regular person will stop right there, right? I said, okay. And they were like, well, you can appeal this academic probation. I said, all right, well, shout out Regina Wallace. Hey, Regina, I need a letter of recommendation. I need you to help me out. So Gina gets typing and going. And then, so what I do, the guy who class I didn't do good in, I hit him up.
Right.
I said, well, look, I know you can't give me extra credit, but I was like, look, I'm trying to get back in school. Is there any way you can type me a letter up? He was like, what? Yeah, I'll type a letter up and drop it off.
Whoa.
So
how many people would do that after the dude said, no, I'd rather you fail in life?
But you gotta know you can't give up. You get what I'm saying? So
True that.
This was coming off of I go home for Christmas, and I remember I'm in Atlanta. This is when I'm still wild, and I get a phone call, and they're like, I get an email, they're like, you're back in school. I'm like, hey, I'm out. I gotta go register. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, these are things you just can't give up.
Right. So, True, you've had a unique journey in higher education as well. What about Yusuf's story kind of sticks out to you? What are some things that you probably seen as well?
I came to college when I was 21.
For sure.
So I can relate to you coming to college and everybody's 18, 19. You feel super out of place. I would only for real, imagine being 29, you feel stupid old amongst everybody that you walking around.
Sure.
I mean, like when you're older, even by those 3 or 4 years, you look at the behavior of these other people and kind of just feel like, dang, they immature. Is this what I look like, you know, when I was that age, but you thought you was grown, whatever. So you're dealing with this judgment, trying not to judge and trying to do what you came here for at the same time. But being a human being, you don't want to feel isolated and alone. You know what I'm saying? So it's a real big weight on you mentally and emotionally. Right. You know what I mean? Like when you come to college later, without knowing it, because I didn't know anybody when I came here. I knew one person. Right. I had no friends, whatever, and then I joined rap. And like he said, with the Regina person, Random Acts of Poetry was what kept me here. Yeah, man. I got on academic probation as well. Right. And I was scrambling. They put me out for a semester. Right. So when that happened, it was like either you get a job and pay for your apartment, or you're going back to North Augusta, South Carolina. And I did not want to do that. Like I couldn't see myself doing that at the time. Like literally a half a year before I came to college, everybody that I used to run with got swept up. They either went to college. If they were still at home, there was a Fed sweep, and they came and they swept all them boys up. Yeah. And all them boys went and did 5 to 8 years. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it, like, my mentality was, I don't have nobody here, but I super don't got nobody at home. I know, you know, that's not going to be a good situation for me, whatever. So I did what I had to do to make sure I stayed here. And like you said, I didn't give up. Like, I did. I didn't finish school, but I had my own reasons for that. But as far as like what I saw my purpose being, like what Georgia Southern was bringing to my life, the people that was putting me around, again, you know, Random Acts of Poetry was a big thing I was a part of. You know what I'm saying? So that energy and where it directed me overall to where I'm at, like being back here today, I didn't give up on that, and that was a very, very, very big part of my life. That was a good thing for me.
Let me ask y'all this too, man. What was the did you all both attend high schools where the majority of people look like you all? No. Nah,
I mean, my school, one again, I'm old, so I came out in 94. I'm not old, I'm seasoned. Yeah. So I came out in 94.
You still alive. That's what alive. You can't make fun of people who ain't dead.
So my school was pretty much like this camp. Well, it wasn't like this campus. It was split. You know what I mean? It was the ratio was the same. We had just as many as whites we had as blacks. Because see, that was the difference for me. It was no culture shock when I got here.
Got you.
Get what I'm saying?
Got you.
So,
what about you, True? What was the breakdown at your school?
It was kind of half and half by the time. The crazy thing was my age group. I came in high school in 04, which was the year you got to Southern, right? Okay, so yeah, I came in 2004.
Small world.
My class happened to be the biggest class that my high school had seen. We made our school a 4A, like almost a 5A. Right. So my year just ironically ended up being like kind of like this even balance, whatever. But because it was a shift in, you know, what the majority or minority was during that time, we received a lot of resistance, like with everything was gang related, man. Like if we wore solid black tees, solid white tees, the camp band, the snowman, when the army fatigue thing was a fad, everything was pink tees was gang related because Cameron made a song about it. Like
it was gang related because of your color of your skin, not your clothes, though. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you know, not necessarily talking about it as a victimhood, but you'd be surprised. It was culture. The gang related was related to your culture, or whatever culture was not acceptable. That's a gang. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I look at it a lot, and a reason why I ask you all that is because there are a lot of students who come from high schools that the majority of the population look like them. So when they got to a school like Georgia Southern and Southeast Georgia and Statesboro, Georgia, and there's a huge possibility they never heard of this city before, and they come to a school where they went from 98% of the kids to 15% of the population.
Especially when you go to a school like South Gwinnett or something like that. Right, you know what I mean? Where most of the people there, they look like you.
Yeah. Especially like in South DeKalb. South DeKalb, man, that was little Africa.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was not trying to be funny and nothing like that, man. But you had it like you didn't get that diverse until you went up to Chambly or something like that, and you start going up to Dunwoody and Tucker. You might get a little diverse, man. But everybody under Memorial Drive, whoo, darkness, everybody, darkness.
Riverdale.
You know what I'm saying? Clayco, Riverdale, all the way up there to Southwest Atlanta, APS, and all of that good stuff until you wrap around to North Cobb. You know what I'm saying? Then things, but everything south of the capital city and everything's on the east side, everything south Memorial Drive, you knew what you was getting. You know what I mean? Yeah. So when we came down to Georgia Southern, I know a lot of times it was the first time they had, may not been the first time they had a white teacher, but it was the first, some people it was the first time they ever had a white teacher. Yeah. Sometimes it was the first time they ever had, like, you know, white anybody, you know what I'm saying? Their whole school was all black, you know what I'm saying? And that's not to assume, because some of our inner city schools or predominantly black schools have a lot of white faculty, have white principals, administrators, teachers, counselors, and all of that, but they didn't have white peers, you know what I'm saying? And we talk about this all the time, man, that comparative conversation that we have with our loved ones about, you know, how you say, well, when you go wherever you go, you have to work 3 times as hard as someone else. You know what I'm saying? And so that mindset of always trying to compare yourself to people who do not look like you, what would that do to a mindset of someone who just got to Georgia Southern and they never been around this type of population before? What could that do to their mindset?
I think it can also be just detrimental, because you got to think about it. You've been around your peers forever. Right. Probably kindergarten, right? Right. And you get here and they're like, oh, by the way, you got to work 3 times harder. Right. What you mean I got to work 3 times harder?
No, that means, man.
That doesn't make sense to me. Right. So, I mean, you it's sad to say, but you basically got to put that work in. Right. You know, and depending on, because a lot of stuff the way college is set up is they want you to figure it out, right? Right. And you got to work in groups. Mm-hmm. But how do you work in a group if you've never been around somebody? And your communication skills, you know, we used to say in certain ways to talk to each other a certain way. Like, hey, it don't work like that when you sitting with somebody who's a different race from you. Right. You know what I mean? Right. And it's just crazy when you think about it. You know, I've never put it in that perspective, but I just grew up different. You know what I'm saying? Right. But it's just crazy.
I think on top of that, and Troy wants you to chime in with this too, a lot of times we take work 3 times as hard, and I think everybody's not meaning literally. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes some people who have been exposed to higher education, they are 3 times more likely to know how it is on the college campus. Some of us were the first people in our families to go to college, right? So it's a possibility that you may have to work 3 times as hard to know the resources on campus, where you know, somebody else, not necessarily assuming just because of their skin color, but, you know, knowing how our breakdown of socioeconomic status in the United States is, certain people are bombarded with poverty. You know what I'm saying? People are bombarded with lack of resources, lack of options, lack of choices, right? So when you get to a college campus and you made it, you know, you were that salmon swimming upstream and you found yourself on a college campus. Now you don't have the resources where you can pick up the phone and call a sibling or call a parent and say, hey, where do I go to get this? Where do I go to get that? You know, we may have some people say, look, I ain't never been, figure it out. You know what I'm saying? That may be 3 times as hard than a person who already had that laid out for them. However, I think the way we talk to people about it, you know what I'm saying, the way we tell our kids and our youth, just as long as we don't tell it in a comparative manner, you know what I'm saying, and say for instance, like, all right, see, some of these people may have received certain benefits or certain options before you. That doesn't mean you have to work 3 times as hard as they do, but you have to work a little bit harder because you haven't been in this situation. You see what I'm saying? So now you're competing with the ignorance that you may experience in the situation instead of looking at another person like they're better than you. You know what I mean? So what are your thoughts on that, True?
My younger brother is 20 years old. He just turned 20 in February. He's in his 2nd year of college. And I go through that with him because my parents, they don't understand. They think, oh, well, you got a meal plan, you straight.
That 5-1 that had you out there smoking cigarettes though.
Like we know that y'all reacted exactly how anybody in college would react. Like nah,
straight
like,
up.
You know what I'm saying? But they literally do not understand that because they have not been to college. They haven't gone away to college when they were teenagers and been in that situation where it's like, yo, 3 days out of this week I'm starving.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm eating noodles. You know what I'm saying? So, and for some people it's worse than that depending on what your meal plan itinerary was. You know what I mean? So, like when I came, I didn't even have one.
Right.
So I was thugging it for real. Like I had people that worked in Chick-fil-A that was, you know, through the back door.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. All the old school people who got fired on behalf of the people. We thank you.
They did it for the culture.
They did it for. Now we're talking about the culture there, because I remember some of them OGs back in the old Landrum days, back in the day where you could, you know, I remember one dude, I had to know some very petite individuals to slide through the little columns.
Yeah.
Back in the day, and I'd be like, to go ahead and take this plate with the 4 home by. Go ahead and put a couple of them in there for you, boy.
Like
I got stuck in the column one time.
He often calls me for certain things that he knows there's no point in even calling my mother or calling my father because they just won't get it. You know what I mean? So he'll call me for my advice or to ask me a question on whatever because he knows that I've been there. I've directly experienced it, or I know somebody that's experienced whatever it is he asking me.
Right.
So it is kind of hard on you when, like I said, with me being here, I didn't have that. I didn't have nobody I could go to besides my peers. You know what I mean? So you get comparing yourself to somebody that, you know, they had that guidance that gives them that couple steps ahead of you a little bit. You know what I mean? It's very easy, especially when that person is your roommate.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you get lost in that whole comparing yourself to them and feeling like, well, I can't do this, man. Like I'm losing hair, stressing out. You know what I'm saying?
And one of the things that hopefully somebody is out there listening to, man, sometimes competing keeps you from contributing. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes the things that you're supposed to be doing while you're at a new environment, if you're thinking about what everybody else is doing, you could compare yourself with somebody who's not even playing the same sport as you, man. You know, some people are playing life a little bit different because their life situations are different. You can't compete with a person or compare yourself to a person who has not only financial aid, but, you know, saying both of their parents are footing the bill. You know what I mean? Or somebody who's, you know, they're maybe the last person in their family to go to college, and everybody has gave them what teachers to take. Well, this professor is cool, or look at the look at this test. You know, this is the stuff we used to take, and if you know this, you'll be pretty good at this test or whatever like that. Man, they got that head start. And sometimes when you're comparing yourself to a person with a head start, man, you can look down on yourself if you're not careful. So I think a lot of people need to take things into consideration and put things into perspective. Stay in your own lane, man, but that doesn't mean that you're not supposed to do your best. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's where we go with that.
I don't know if you ever seen it's a video with a coach. I think he was a coach. He might have been a teacher. But anyways, he had like maybe 30 to 50 kids out on the soccer field.
Right.
And
oh yeah, I think I remember that.
And he had them like
the privilege walk.
Yeah, the privilege walk. And then he started listing things about like if both of your parents raised you, you know, take X amount of steps forward, and then he'll list something else, take X amount of steps forward. You know what I'm saying? And then at the end of these 7 to 10 things that he listed, you know, there's people that they didn't take any steps forward. And he was like, you gotta acknowledge that these things that I said that caused you to take a step forward towards this finish line gave you a head start over these people that's behind you. You know what I'm saying? So you have to acknowledge that privilege exists.
Yes, sir.
And you have it. Not that you got to be accountable for it to the sense of feeling guilty. You know what I mean? But it exists. It's there.
All right. And just don't let it break you. Yusuf, I want you to elaborate on what you would have told yourself. What would you tell your younger self based off what you know now?
I'm gonna say something stupid.
No. Please say something stupid. People like to laugh, man. You know, some of this stuff get real serious. I'm like, can y'all please talk about strip clubs and peanut butter?
Honestly, it's kind of weird, right? Like, I wouldn't change. It's hard. I wouldn't probably change nothing. Like I would tell myself to probably pay attention more, focus more, and don't waste your opportunities. Right?
Okay.
I would tell myself that, but I just look at if I did, I wouldn't have learned what I did learn.
Straight up.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
straight up.
Again, my situation was different. You know, and not to get off the question.
No.
Back to the question.
Go for it.
Like the privilege walk, right? Like I could say, yeah, both my parents raised me, right? My parents were, you know, in my life, right? But when it came to school, I was like, yo, what's up with school? My dad looked at me, Mom, we ain't got no money. Figure it out. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So where does that put me, right? That I got that legacy of them, you know, here, but that put me right back to square one with Buddy, you know? Whereas somebody might be an athlete and they got a scholarship, so they got a free ride. So while I'm here,
And they was raised in a one-parent household.
yeah, they was really one parent household. So
Right.
we still kind of end up equaling out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we were privileged. I had you could. I don't want to say that. I can't say I had a better grounding. I just had two parents. Right.
For sure. Because
So-
a lot of broken homes got two parents in it.
Exactly.
So you can't guarantee it. Yeah.
I had a great grounding. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So for me, but when it came to getting here, nah, man, it was like, cause my parents, my dad, my dad was military, right? So he retired. That was his legacy. He if I was supposed to be in this situation, he moved us out of that situation. Right?
Got you.
So when I got here, my dad did he did junior college, right? So that was a big step for him. So when I got here, it was like, yo, T, you got to figure it out, and that's literally what I had to do. I spent my first year here figuring it out,
Right.
you know. So I wouldn't tell myself anything. I would tell myself to take that same path because I had to learn. And with that, like I had a daughter that was down here. She's been to like every school in Georgia. Shout out to Kiera. She's been to like every, you name it. Albany, she went. And she came here, and then she's back home in Augusta. But I remember like when she was at Albany, like, look, you got to go this, and this. Like they about to pull you. You need to go talk to this person. And I'm sitting here on the phone for like an hour talking to all these different like people.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I feel like I'm back in school.
Right. Straight
you
up.
know? So those are the things that, you know, you have to learn, but you have to be persistent with it. You know what I mean? You just can't give up. You can't let anybody just take that from you. You know. So I tell myself just to pay attention more and just put more work ethic in. You know, fix your GPA.
Where do you see young manhood as of right now, man? Some of the youth that you're looking at right now, what's your opinion of them?
Man, it just depends, man. I have high hopes for them, right? Like I'm around a lot of them. They surprise me because like last week I was talking to them and I was like, do y'all even read? Because this is a very heavy phone. We're attached to the phone. Dude was like, yeah, I'm reading a book right now. And I was like, what you read? And he told me, and I was like, okay, that's what's up.
Right.
But I think that the picture is painted so negative with us. But I think there's always, the culture is going somewhere. I think there's always a positive in it.
Right.
It's just they got to figure it out. And well, they need to ask. You know, they need to find somebody to mentor them. You know what I'm saying? They need to look. You got to look for it. You got some people who will come to you. Sometimes you just got to look for it. So I mean, I don't want to sit and say, oh, they're lost, you know, because my generation was lost. You know what I'm saying?
Yo.
Every
generation.
Every generation's always been
Everybody
lost.
got the lost ones.
You know what I mean?
And that's what it
so
was.
yeah, everybody got the lost ones.
Yep.
So really, it's just like we've got some doing some stuff. If you're here, I'm gonna tell you this: if you're in school, and I'm not saying that the people not in school is lost because they're doing something with themselves. Some of them are.
Straight up.
Then you're doing something, and don't ever let no one take that from you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just got to take it in steps. Like, you got into college, and you probably weren't even supposed to be here.
Straight up.
And so the next step is to prove that one wrong. Like, I'm going to graduate.
Straight up.
You know what I mean?
Straight up. So this is where we're going to go. We're at the end of the show.
Yeah, they cut my lights off. My daughter's scared right now.
Nah, it's all G. It's all G, man. So first of all, man, kind of let the people know what kind of made you want to reach out to the show. Because we talked about it earlier. You reached out to me last week and said you wanted to be on the show. So I want people to kind of go into your mindset about why you wanted to be here. And then we're going to finish the show of you talking to a specific young man and or a young woman about what you talked about today and what you wish for them. So
I wanted to be here today because last week I was on Instagram trolling. No, I'm just playing. I was going through and I seen Chris and I was like, Chris had something on the show. I said, man, you know what? I'm an hour away. I'm going to hit Chris up. You know, I got something to say. My wife was like, what you going to talk about? I'm like, my life. You know?
Straight up.
I got a story to tell.
Straight up.
But I wanted to come on because even when I was down here, I've always been a person to give advice. You know what I mean? I've always been one to counsel.
For sure.
You know, because there are a lot of lost people down here.
Man,
right?
tell it. I was one of them.
And there's still a lot of lost youth. And I think sometimes, you know, you can get so caught up and discouraged about, you know, your place here. You know what I mean? And so I want to come and just tell you, like I said, I graduated at 33.
For sure.
Know what I mean?
For sure.
And it was a long path. And like I said, when I graduated, I just sat on the field. Like, I was probably the last one to get up.
Straight up.
So, and
I was dehydrated from the night before.
I was too. Yeah. Just for the fact that I was just sitting here and just what I went through, and I wasn't supposed to be here. Because of, if I would have listened to that teacher in 7th grade and been like, well, he told me I wasn't supposed to go to college.
Straight up.
You know, so that was my story. Like, if you want to do it, you can achieve it. You know what I'm saying? So don't let anybody take it from you.
Straight up.
And I just like talking to like young people, man. I just want you to know, like, there's people that's here for you.
Those young people listening around that young man and that young woman, talk to them now.
So, like I said, don't give up, man. One, just for me personally, you know, you gotta stay rooted. You gotta have some faith. You gotta have some God in your life. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have that. You gotta have that to fall back on. After that, man, if you've made your mind up and this is something that you want to do, then finish it. Because, like I said, I've been down here. If I'm talking to you, I can tell you my story. Like, if I can do it, you know, I used to always say, well, man, I ain't the smartest, but apparently I made it through. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like if I can do it, then y'all can do it. And I did it at a point of being 29, 30. I don't know if you've ever been in a class with somebody who's way older than y'all.
Oh, yeah.
But they oddballs, you know what I'm saying? I just tried to fit in, but they just be like, I don't get that.
Yeah.
You know?
I was in high school. I remember freshman year, man, somebody was in at 22. I thought he would have done it.
So you just want to just stick to it, make a plan, and just finish. You know. And I remember I used to talk to my dad, and he would just tell me, he would have advice for me like, T, man, just graduate. Right. You know what I mean? Like, that's all he would tell me, and that's all that was my motivation. Right. I was like, yeah, faith and persistence is the key. You're
What's up, Sabine? Right. Appreciate it.
I was like, yo, I'm just gonna graduate. You know, that's all. And you know, I just prayed about it, and I put it in the Lord's hands. You gotta have that background, and you just, like I said, if you feel lost, man, just find somebody who can mentor you and just help you out. And I mean, Chris know how to get in touch with me. I got information for days just on life. So if you just want to talk, I'm fine with that.
That's straight up, man. True, man. What you got closing out, man? What you got to say to the people, bro?
Same thing I always say every week. Just be you. Be true to who you are. No pun intended. But at the same time, it is like, just be who you are. Don't let anybody take that away from you. There's only one you. You are unique. You are beautiful. And trying to be somebody else, eventually, you know, that's going to fall through. You're going to end up having to be you anyway. So you might as well just be you from the gate and keep on through and through.
For sure. For sure. I would like to tell people out there, man, make sure you concentrate on your assignment more than your age. A lot of times, and just hearing Yusuf talk tonight, man, I think one of the things that we could talk about and really learn from our conversation is you got to be bigger than your situation, and you have to always be bigger than what other people's perceptions of your life is or are. You know what I mean? When someone tells you what they see about you, sometimes they're putting their fear on you and calling it advice. You know what I mean? Some people put their fear on you and call it love. Some people put their fear on you and just call it, man, I'm just looking out for you. You know what I mean? So sometimes, man, we're not only just listen, man, but try your best to question the perception of the people that are always in your ear, because sometimes they're giving you visions with their eyes closed. You know what I mean? And you got to be willing and humble enough to find out, hey, man, I know you love me, man, but I need to question what you just told me. I need to know if that's love or if that's fear, because sometimes fear can perpetrate like love, especially if it has a buttload of negativity in it and they don't know your entire story. I'm thinking about that teacher who told you what you ain't gonna do, and you know, and they could have filled in the blank, bro. They could have said anything what you're not gonna do, but I'm glad that you took that, and obviously it did something because you remembered it and you talked about it tonight. A lot of the people that's listening tonight, I know for a fact that somebody hurt you beyond repair, right? You know, somebody pretty much crushed your dream or crushed your thought process about something that you were really passionate about doing. One thing I want you all to understand is your purpose in life was given to you by your creator, or whoever you believe your creator was, and a lot of people were not involved in the process. So it's going to be very important for you to really be strict and strategic on the information that you allow yourself to listen to. That's the difference between the God and the culture that you were talking about. That's the reason why I wanted to say this, because some people can put God into their personal wishes on your life. And you need to question the God that they're talking about, because you both could be talking about two totally different things. A lot of people hide their fear under the name of God. So you need to really investigate the conversations that you're having with these people. Some of these people are lifelong friends. Some people are family members. Some people are co-workers. Some people are mentors, because you'd be surprised, man. Sometimes you can have a mentor that has never reached the heights that you're going, and they could, discourage you, because man, that can't be done, man. You might want to stay away from that. I'm not telling you that you can't listen to someone where they're trying to give you sound advice, but question where it's coming from. Sometimes if you understand the advice, some of the advice, where the advice is coming from, you can put it in perspective and say, okay, all right, this person experienced something very traumatic. So let me at least, educate them and say, okay, I know exactly what you went through, but this is what I see and this is what I experienced over here. So I'm going to respect what you told me, but I'm also respect the fact that we're not in the same situation. So you got to be willing to educate the people who are trying to educate you as well, man. So this has been another helpful episode of Manhood Mindset, because honestly, man, if, we can't guarantee if we're going to help people. The only thing we can do is just have a genuine conversation. We can try our best to keep it real with people. So I want to ask you, what was your experience like on Manhood Mindset? This man, I'm going to tell you how cool this is, people. This is family, man. This man, you were on the west of Atlanta on yesterday.
Yes.
And he has made it down to Statesboro, Georgia, just to support Manhood Mindset and go out there and basically support the listeners, man. So first of all, I want to just tell you, I respect you. You didn't have to do it, but you did it. And this goes towards the character. Like, he was over 300 to 400 miles away and still wanted to come. You could have easily counsel and be like, no, it's just too much, man. Let's reschedule. But he came anyway, because this is the type of heart and mindset that you had when I first met you in 2004, 2005, when I had gold teeth and braids.
Yeah.
You
I saw Lisa picture of you on Facebook the other day.
Yeah, enjoy.
Like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. People were just like, God, okay, thanks for, okay, yeah. And I had a Huffy bike too. I had to go to class, get a class on time. So, you know what I mean? So can you tell the people, what was your experience like on Manhood Mindset? What you think about the show?
Honestly, I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie. I love the conversation between the three of us, and this is what it's about, man. I think when you see black men coming together, because you don't see this too often in a positive manner,
right? Because
of how we're portrayed. You got to change the narrative, and I think this is changing the narrative
for sure.
So I'm definitely would love to come back anytime. You just hit me up, and I ain't but an hour away, man. So, but I enjoyed it, man.
That's real. True, you got any announcements, anything that you're working on, anything you want the people to understand?
I have 8 husky puppies.
Gotta let them go. You gotta get
a home. They will be ready May 4th. They have been alive for the past 3 days.
Wow.
Holla at me for the pre-sale. $125 holding deposit. If you hit my line, we could talk about that full price. True Amir, that's TruuAmir. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Straight up.
Hit me.
Straight up. All right. And Husky, you remember me of when I had to go school clothes shopping back in the day. It was Husky or bust. That was about it, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have a really cool announcement. Hope some of y'all listening on Facebook Live and some people listening on locally in Statesboro, man. We have a legend coming to the campus of Georgia Southern University. You might have known him as by some of the introductions and a lot of Dungeon Family CDs, man, and songs and albums and things of that nature. We have none other than Dungeon Family's own Big Rube coming down to Georgia Southern University on April 20th. He'll be in the IT building at 7 o'clock. He's going to be speaking on hip-hop pedagogy and the Southern influence on hip-hop, man. A lot of people know I'm very, very passionate about hip-hop, but especially in the Southern region, man, because we have a specific story to tell. So a lot of people out there, if you're interested in making your way down to Georgia Southern University, this is put on by the College of Education, the Jane Page Lecture Series Committee. We also have some co-sponsorships, Merit and Merit Law Firm. We got co-sponsorships from International Studies and Political Science and Center for Africana Studies. We got students from all over the campus that may be coming out, helping out with promotion and things of that nature. So April 20th, 7 o'clock p.m., IT Auditorium, Reuben aka Big Rube Bailey. It will be visiting the campus of Georgia Southern University, talking about Southern influence on hip-hop and hip-hop pedagogy. So we want to see y'all out there. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Manhood Mindset. I'm your host, Big Chris, representing Ellenwood, Georgia. Man, I love y'all very much. Hopefully somebody got some help. I know I did. Yusuf, I appreciate you coming down,
Anytime,
brother.
man.
True. You already know what it is, man. Stay true to yourself, man. Help the people, bro. You had how many days in a row of freestyling? I be catching your freestyles, bro. How many days did you do freestyles in a row?
I'm still doing it.
You still doing it now?
I missed last Tuesday, but we doing 52 weeks, man. 52 weeks in a year.
Endurance, bro.
Every single Tuesday.
Persistent.
Every Tuesday. So
Bruh.
This Tuesday, I owe 2 videos because I missed last Tuesday. So that's what I did. Like during my birthday was February 21st.
For sure.
So that week, I had missed, and then around my birthday, I always have like epiphanies in accordance with my age or whatever. So
For sure.
I missed the next week. So then when that third week came, I put 3 videos up because I was behind. So
Got
I'm do
you.
the same thing this week. It's gonna be 2 videos up every Tuesday, man. True Tuesdays.
Got you.
My homegirl, she calls them Tuesday.
Right.
So yeah.
All right, and last but not least, my heartfelt condolences goes out to the family of the young man who was brutally murdered by the terroristic acts of when he got pulled over. I believe it was a young man who got murdered, got shot over 20 times by having
in
his
his
cell phone
backyard,
in his own backyard, by having his cell phone, and they said they thought that he had a gun, so they decided to empty clips into his body because they thought he had a weapon. Ladies and gentlemen, we already know where we at. We already know what this is. There's no sugarcoating in this. We need to be, have that conversation with your family members, not out of fear, but out of reality. We need to understand where we are, where we at. Y'all need to know the law. You need to know how you can protect yourselves at all times. You need to know how you can put yourself in predicaments that can maximize your life expectancy. All right. I don't have the answer to it. I can't say that anything that we can think of can keep something like that from happening. However, as long as we at least initiate conversations about this, that we can help each other to understand exactly what's going on and put our best foot forward, I think the time is now. There's no excuse for it. There's no reason for it. There's no pep talk. We already know what it is, and I would just want to respect his family. It shouldn't have happened, and it shouldn't happen again. But I can't promise what will happen in the future because I know where we at. All right. But much love to y'all. Fear and God don't live in the same spot.
Facts.
So we're going to serve God or we're going to serve something else, man. So make sure what you're doing, you worshiping the most high and not the most low. Peace.